Hey TMNT fans, this Tycander's coming back with another action figure, well, double action figure review. Now, sorry about the late upload for this. Unfortunately, we had a family bereavement and I was unable to get any stuff recorded during last week, so I didn't get a chance to pre-record or get anything done or edited, so I'm doing this on the fly again, as I normally try to do. So I am trying to improve upon my skills, editing skills. Maybe eventually I might have something a bit more entertaining than just the straight up reviews. I might try and branch out to other stuff, but for now I'm just doing a new figure review, and today we are looking at the other two turtles from the 1988 TMNT Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles remastered line. Now, these are exclusive to Walmart in the States. I don't know if I still haven't seen them over here in Europe. I don't know if any distributor or even retailer are selling these in Europe, unless you have to import them. They could be that. Now, please forgive if the sound quality in the background is a bit bad. There is blowing a gale of wind here as well, and where I am isn't the most soundproofed, so you could hear wind and rain howling in the background. I'll try and be as good as I can with these. So what we'll do is we'll take a look at the packaging, and then we will move on to the figures themselves, and we'll get everything set up for that. So the packaging is pretty much identical to the previous packaging. Well, it is identical to the previous packaging. So you have the kind of original style of Eastman and Laird's artwork here with the turtles in the corner, except it's colorized. So in the original concept art, all the turtles had red bandanas. There was no color differential, and the reason the color differential came in is because when it came around time for doing the animated show, they figured that kids wouldn't know which turtle was which on the show, so they gave them more their iconic color schemes. So Donnie is in purple, Leo's blue, Mikey with the orange, and Raph with the still traditional red bandana that, or red wraps and paddings that the original concept was used. So they did kind of still get one of them in there with their original concept, but it was the hot head of Raphael. So on the back of the packaging, you can see it shows all four turtles. It says enhanced sculpt, detailed and deco, 13 points articulation, aggressive styled weapons or signature weapons, and then customizable battle base. And then if I flip around to the back of Donnie's box, on the side of Donnie's box you can see with his alternate weapons, same with Raphael. And then on the opposite side it shows collect all four to create a custom rooftop style scene. So you have that. And then on the little brief write up on the back, it's 1988 again, only better. Collect all your favorite classic style Teenage Mutant Turtles, now remastered with super articulation and detailed deco. Now, at the time of this recording, there is New York Comic Con going on, and Playmates have a display in that. Now, they only have these four turtles displayed. I'm hoping as the weekend progresses that we might see new figures for this line, because they have been talking about expanding the remastered line, and I'm hoping it will be a wave 2 announcement with, like, these are all wave 1, so you have all four turtles in wave 1. I'm hoping we'll get a wave 2 announcement with either a villain wave, which would be nice, a four figure villain wave, or maybe a half and half, so two villains and two heroes, i.e. Splinter and April, and then for the villain side of things, Shredder and maybe a Foot Soldier, or Shredder and Bebop. I would prefer if they did a wave with Bebop and Rocksteady together, because they're more iconic that way, but that's just me. People might have different tastes on how they are sold, but these are not too bad. They are about $13, which is a reasonable price point for these. They come with a good lot of accessories, and we'll get into that in a moment, so bear with me while I set everything up and we'll have a look at the figures and their accessories. I'll probably do accessories first, and then I'll go on with the figures and their articulation, because it's very similar to how the previous figures are. In fact, they're identical to how the previous figures were, so I'll try and not keep too much time on those. Okay, we'll have a look at the collectible base set first, and then we'll have a look at their individual accessories. So for, this is Raph's, if I remember correctly. Let me just double check. I believe this is Raph's one. Yeah. So Raph's one comes with 2 extra pieces. So you get the standard base. Now, from what I can see, this slime or this mutagen pool or whatever you want to call it does differentiate between them. So if I bring in, I think this is Mikey's, so you can see the little splodge. Other than that, everything is the same. The packaging, this cable is a lot brighter, which is kind of interesting, but you still get like this loose accessory that you can place anywhere, and then you get the kind of a half, not even a half ladder, but it's like the top of a fire escape kind of type thing that goes this way. You can put it on this back area, but it looks a bit odd, and it makes it harder to line everything up if you wanted to line it up, but you do get that. It is interesting that chimney stack has like an accessible door on it. I'm not sure why that is. I'm assuming it's something for cleaning it. It might be something more common to people who live in the States, in New York as well, that those sort of style chimney stacks have a accessible door for cleaning, possibly. Then you get Donnie's one. Again, the slime trail does seem to be different. You get this little vent fan. I think it's a vent. I'm pretty sure it's a vent. I've seen them. It's like an exhaust vent. And then you get an extractor fan box or extractor box kind of accessory, which is nicely detailed. You have like venting on the sides. Not all of it is painted. It has some silver paint apps on the dark grey plastic. So you have that. And then just like all the rest, you can connect it together. So I'm going to connect all 4 together so you can see them all lined up. Hopefully I can get them all in shot. It might be a little bit of a tight squeeze, but we'll try and get everyone into the shot. So there goes the one off Leo's. Leo has that kind of rooftop window, and you can probably just see the feet of one of the other guys there, of General Trag, so I'll try and push that out of the way. So those are the kind of 4 bases together with the accessories. So just like every other turtle, each of the figures comes with a large dagger punch, or a punch dagger, and a small punch dagger, and they both come with 2 throwing stars, so you have that as well. So let's bring in the 2 figures and we'll have a look at them. Probably going to do them both together since they're pretty much identical except for belts and heads. So for the first figure, we'll have a look at Raphael. Raphael is done in that kind of light green, which is how the original figure was done. He does sport one thing that the original figure has over the other turtles, which is this storage space for the small dagger punch, or sorry, the larger of the dagger punch things. He does have his iconic scythe, which can fit in the storage on the front. So that's his more unique accessories. He does have one other unique accessory, which I need to move figures off because they're laying on top of. He has his, what does they call it, custom, his kind of weapon, specialized weapon, something they called it. So Raph comes with this fairly heavy double-headed hammer style weapon, which is pretty brutal looking for a turtle figure, to be fair. Like, he's going to knock some heads with this looking thing. I'm not sure if you can see it on screen, but it has like a spike on one end and a hammer head on the other, and it's like reversed on both sides, so it's a fairly brutal looking weapon. But I find the weapon that comes with Donnie more brutal, and we'll get into that in just in a second, because we'll have a look at Donnie for his stuff. And the one weird thing that the one weird thing I never really noticed about the Donatello figure. Even though I had one as a kid, I don't have my original. But I think the original I had was just like all the originals. I got it secondhand and it was missing his harness for his weapon. So this one has his bow staff, his traditional stick. It has purple wrapping on it, so you know it's Donnie's weapon. Same with Raph's weapon. All the weapons have their signature colors on them. He can hold it quite nicely in his hand. So you can have him one-handing it, or because of the articulation, you can have him kind of grip it in both hands. I will flail and flounder and try to do it on screen for you. Oop. Voila. There we go. So you can get him doing a double-handed or dual wielding with the bow staff. You can put Raph's size in his hands. I'll do that in a minute, but I want to kind of showcase Donnie first because there is a 1 point on this figure which I don't remember being on the original, which is here. On his left side he has a small, very small, I'm not sure if you can even see it, it's kind of hard to see, and my fingers are probably stubby fingers are in the way, but there is a small little holder on the side. Now I've been trying to read up and see what people say about it. Some people said it's for the throwing stars, but they're too thick to actually fit in there. It's a very hard fit if it was. And some people said it's for this, but I don't think so, because it makes the articulation harder on him. I think what it is for this version of the dagger punch, the smaller one, it does tend to fit in there. You can fit it up that way. I don't think you fit it the opposite direction, but you can fit it in that way. And I think that was what it was intended for, unless he was originally intended to come with some sort of turtle com that would slide in there, because Donnie was the guy that kind of really had those. So I don't know. It is what it is. But I suppose it is an interesting thing, something I never knew about the figure, because as I said, my original Donatello never had his harness or his thing for holding his weapon. I don't think he even had the weapon, his bow staff. I just remember getting him loose with no gear. So even though he was my favorite turtle, I never had an original mint on card one. I only got second hand-me-down ones. So that is how he looks. So for articulation, we'll breeze straight into articulation because they are pretty much identical, and they are identical to these lads, which is Mikey and the Leo that I previously reviewed. So I'll pop them in the background so you can see them all together. Arms are on the swivel, arms can hinge up that much, single joint elbow with at least a near 90-degree bend. It's not quite full 90-degree, but it's close enough. Swivel in the wrist, no hinge or articulation in that. Head is on a ball joint. Now the legs, there's nothing in the waist or torso or on the shell or at the back. There's no ab crunch or any of that kind of fun stuff. But here is where it kind of gets interesting. You have the hinge on the legs, so you can get them in a seated position if you want. It does look a little weird because they have to splay their legs out to the side. They can't just go straight up. But if you want kind of more dynamic posing, you kind of have to splay those legs out awkwardly. There is a single joint knee with a swivel, and then those really weird swivel boot cut sort of things on their feet. So you can sort of get some, I suppose the best way to do it is that way, you can kind of get some crazy poses out of them, but it's going to look awkward. They do stand fairly reasonably well, even on the 1 foot kind of thing. You can kind of get them to stand not too bad. Actually, you can't even see that, but I'll just poke them back a bit. You might be able to see it. So you can kind of get them on wide stances, but because their feet aren't resting flat, it looks a bit awkward. So that brings me on, because I almost forgot it, because we got the articulation out of the way, we're bringing on to Donnie's signature weapon, which I think out of all the turtle weapons, the kind of custom turtle weapons, looks the most brutal. And it's kind of interesting because I would never peg Donnie to be kind of the most brutal of the turtles, but he comes with this thing. Let me see if I can focus. It is a mace, spiked mace with a chain on a flail, but it's not just one, it's a double-headed one. So it's like almost like his bow staff, but with flails on the ends of it and spiked maces. So like, you know, this thing is going to do a hell of a lot of damage to some poor poor foot soldier, well, I suppose the foot soldiers are robotic, so you can get away with that. But any of the other living creatures that they come up against, like, you know, Leatherhead or even Shredder himself, Bebop and Rocksteady, if they got smacked around with this thing, it's going to do some serious damage to you. Even if it was just a plain ball on the end of this, it would still be fairly brutal, but the added spikes on this, I think, make it look far more intimidating and far more brutal, which is interesting because, like, going from the cartoon side of the background for Donnie, I would say he's not passive to any extent, but he generally doesn't seem to be. He's the tech guy. He wouldn't be the guy going around, like, if anyone would have something like this, I would imagine Raph would, but, you know, or even Mikey, because it's, like, you know, similar to his nunchucks, even though Mikey did come with this thing, which is kind of similarly brutal as well, with the hook blades. And then Leo came with whatever the heck this thing is. Out of all those four kind of extra weapons that you get with these guys, it is pretty insanely brutal for a turtle figure. So I think it's pretty cool. It is cool, don't get me wrong. I think it just looks really, really brutal for Donnie to be wielding out of all four, out of the fearsome four. So with that said, we will have a quick little comparison. So I do have, now he's the only original one I have. This isn't my original because I got this off a buddy of mine. This is the original Donnie next to his newer counterpart. So you can see he does stand lower than the original, or the original stands lower than the newer one. Mainly because they had those angled feet, or angled knees, and those weird kind of toed feet. So if this guy had straight legs, he probably would be about the same height. The browns are slightly different. This is has a slightly more warmer coloring to the brown used on him. But I do have another Donnie to compare him to. And we'll bring in another Raph as well, because I have another Raph to compare him to. So I'm going to put original Donnie off the side. It is interesting to note that original Donnie has the same head that the new Leo has, and the new Donnie has their head that the original Leo had. For some reason they switched their heads around. We don't know why. So I do have the storage shell version of Donnie. The browns are still not quite the same, but the purple for the headbands are almost identical, at least to my eyes. It could be looking different on screen, but this is the storage shell one. Now unfortunately he doesn't have any, well, he does have a throwing star stuck there, but he doesn't have any other gear because I've been messing around with it. So I can't remember which of this stuff is from Donnie. I believe the slingshot actually came with Donnie. It was the one weapon he couldn't really fit in the storage shell. But if you have storage shell turtles, you can actually give Donnie this thing. I'm sure there is other weapons, because the storage shell version of Donnie does come with his signature bow staff, but it's just an unpainted version like all these weapons. In fact, if I bring in the Leo here, this is storage shell Leo. Do you have anything? Oh yeah, he has the big pizza thing in his back. I'll take that out. You can see his katanas are unpainted, unlike the one which has the actual, whatchamacallit, the standard remastered one. So just for keeping things simple, we're going to not push them all into the screen because we need space. But I'm going to bring in the storage shell version of Raph, which you can see the greens are actually a good match. They're almost the same match, the greens and reds. The reds are a little darker on storage shell, but his green is almost an identical match to the Raph. Obviously his belt on the storage shell ones, I'm not sure if they did it, these are the reissues, so I'm not sure if the originals had colored belts and that matched their signature colors. I think they did, I could be wrong, but you can see his belt is red instead of the black like the original version. He does have his storage shell weapons in his backpack. As you can see, there's two throwing stars with these guys as well, just like with the new ones. So let's see if we can wield the storage shell guys gear. So storage shell Raph comes with this kind of weird, it's a axe, but it's made out of a manta ray, which is wrapped around it, which is kind of weird, and has a mace at the end. So let's see if we can wield this thing, because it's an awkward looking handle on it, but he might be able to hold on to it. I'll have to get it in the hand at the right butt so it doesn't squish the tail of the manta ray, because you can see it poking out. Yeah, he does. He holds the manta ray blade pretty well for some reason. There's also this boomerang that looks like it's made out of corn on the cob. I think it's supposed to be bone. You can wield that if you want. And then his other weapon, they all seem to be fish themed for some reason. So he has this blowfish, which has spikes on it, on a mace, with a chain on it. And because the wrapping on it is probably pretty awkward, because it goes here. I'm not sure if you've seen that. He can wield it, you just have to angle it at the right angle, but he can wield it just like his weird manta fish. So I'm assuming if everything's fish themed, this must be some sort of shelled fish. I don't think, it doesn't look like a cuttlefish or anything along that. Maybe it is a cuttlefish boomerang. I'm not too sure. If I still had the boxes, I'm pretty sure it had names for all these weapons, because and he does come with that pizza thing, so we'll throw that into his hand. Like, even if I remember correctly, I think this came with Mikey, although if it's fish themed, it could have been from Raph as well. But there's like this fish themed blade. You have this kind of more standard flint axe that came with one of them. You have this grapple hook thing that came with Mikey. Mikey came with this weird torch that looks like corn on the cob as well. Leo came with this bizarre mace made out of, I think it's a chinchilla or some sort of weird armored critter. Leo also came with these brass knuckles. And then each one of the turtles came with these frisbee discs like pizzas. They look like cutting discs more than actual pizzas, but we'll pop them out. I'll pop it in. So you can have Raph or any of the turtles eating pizza with this big roundy pizza accessory. I came with the stored shell turtles. Again, if you have the original turtle figures, I'm sure some of the accessories from them would fit in the hands of these guys as well, because they had those weird kind of hooked blade weapons that are similar to kind of like Mikey's thing here, except it had like a blade coming out the top as well. I remember those coming with nearly every turtle. I remember a what was it, on the weapons tree you got throwing stars, which I'm assuming are the exact same as the ones that came with the storage shell and these guys. And I remember there's a few other, I think they all came with these dagger punches on the originals and these smaller dagger punches. At least I think they're called dagger punches. I could be wrong, they could have a specific name, but to me they're like a dagger punch, or like a brass knuckles, almost like a brass knuckles, but a punch of some kind. But all in all, these guys are pretty damn cool. Let's just move original Donnie out of the way, just so you can see all four of them together on their own. And then for my one other original turtle figure, and hopefully it's not going to knock everything down, we'll throw in the old original 80. Does it have a date stamp? I don't think he has. Oh, he does have a date stamp, but I can't see it. It's really blurred. 86, I think. General Trag, the rock soldier from Dimension X. I always liked the rock soldiers, or wish they kind of did more of them. I think General Trag is the only one in the original line. I know NECA has expanded the rock soldiers to have more characters, and they're taller figures, so they wouldn't fit with this line. But I do hope that maybe if Playmates do keep going with this, and we get like a good lot of original characters in this new reimagined style, I do hope we get a General Trag, and maybe they might be able to do another rock soldier that might be like a army builder style one, which would be really cool. So I think it is a really nice fit. And just before I go, because I didn't do it for the figures, and they're all the same size, so I'm just bringing a tape measure just so you see how tall these guys are. So you can see they're around about 4.5 inches, so they're not in scale with the Masters of the Universe 5.5 figures. They're actually smaller. You could get away with it because they are supposed to be teenagers, not fully grown adults, so you could kind of get away with it if you want. But they're kind of an in-between G.I. Joe and Masters of the Universe, so they have their own kind of scale going on, but they are close enough to the original figures that you can get away with it as well. So I am hoping to do an update video for this line. If I can get, I'm trying to get 1 or 2 of the original Turtle vehicles from the original line to see if these guys will be able to fit on any of the vehicles. In fact, I do have something else that is original to the Turtles line, which is this. This is the mutagen canisters that came with the mutating Turtles, and it is a little bit on the big side. This is the one that came with the foot soldiers, so it is a bit big on the handle, being able to grasp line or side of things. So there is that, but we'll throw that out there, or throw that to the side. So all in all, I do think this line is pretty cool. It is worth picking up if you can get it. I do recommend getting it. Unfortunately for me, I had to import it, so it nearly doubled the cost of all the figures. I was lucky enough to get them all through Walmart directly, so I didn't have to go eBay route and pay over the odds for these figures. I do recommend trying, if you can, if you're in Ireland like myself and you have access to AddressPal, I do recommend trying to get them that way and get them directly from Walmart. Just remember that when you are ordering from Walmart, just double check it says shipped and sold by Walmart, not sold by some other third-party vendor, because then you might be paying extra price on them. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video review, and again, apologies for the late upload, and as always, please hit that like button, subscribe button, and share this video. Anyone you think that might appreciate this video and help me grow my channel. So thanks for watching all the way to the end, and as always, have a great day. Cheers, guys.